ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of the DP Podcast. I'm your host, Daniel Pinto, and today we're doing another solo episode. We got some things to talk about today, though. First, I just want to start off by talking about my parents. They just got vaccinated. I think they both got the Moderna vaccine, but it's funny because my dad was pretty anti-vaccine, anti-mask, all of this lockdown stuff, and so it's funny to see him get a vaccine. And my mom actually called me a week before he got the vaccine, and was like, "Oh yeah, he's gonna get the vaccine. Don't say anything though, because then he might get angry and then not get it, or just wait after and then see what's going on." And I actually still haven't talked to him. I want to see him in person and be like, "Hey, what's up? What's going on?" But anyways. Just to kind of give a little background on my dad before I go deeper into this story, he grew up in Mexico in a very small town of like about 150 people. He got like a third grade education. He didn't go to college or anything, obviously, but I think when he was about like 15 or 16, he came to the U.S. illegally. I think in the late 70s, early 80s. And he started working in restaurants as like a dishwasher. And from there, moving up to like busboy or like cook, busboy, depending on whatever they needed, and to waiter, to manager, and eventually running the kitchen or running whatever area he was in. And the company he ended up working for was actually El Chorrito, which was huge in the 80s. That was like the Mexican spot to go to back in California back in the day. And my dad became like a manager, and I don't know what it's called, but is it like a regional manager or something? But he would like open other El Chorritos in different areas. Like I think he opened one in Ventura, one in Thousand Oaks. He opened the one in Bakersfield, I believe. And he just definitely lived the American dream of like coming here with no money, starting to build something, and then eventually making enough money to open his own restaurant, having that be a success, having a wife, kids, all of that, the house, blah blah blah, so on and so forth, happily ever after, right, as they say. So, but anyways, I'm telling you all this just to let you know that, he's a self-made man, and he's very stubborn, very in his ways, because it got him very far. And also, he lacks an education. So the way he gets educated is just from word of mouth, whatever opinions he hears from whoever he likes. And it's usually people who support his bias, right? So my dad's like a Trump supporter. I don't know if he still is, but he was. And it's very funny because because of that, with the whole COVID thing, he was very like, "Oh yeah, I'm not worried about COVID. I'm Mexican, blah blah blah." And so when it came to the restaurant, he treated it like how he was treating no mask. Was he actually kept the restaurant open when it was supposed to be shut down? And actually recently, he got like his third warning throughout this whole pandemic, because I think there was only maybe like a month or two back when it was closed, like in April, May, where he actually had it closed, and he went to Mexico during that time. And I'm like, man, that's not smart. You might catch COVID, and he's a little overweight, so he's on the higher priority risk. And he's like, I just don't care. He's gonna keep it open, which, I mean, kudos to him, man, for keeping it open. That's a lot of balls. And he mostly let a lot of regular customers in. He was pretty safe about it in a way, but not really. He didn't care, but he mostly just let in people who wouldn't rat on him. But I think people did rat on him, because he ended up getting as I said, 3 warnings. And on his third warning, he actually got penalized. That they said, "Okay, you can't have any indoor dining because we're going to check, and if you do, we're going to shut you down, like, period." So, and this was recently. So now everybody's eating outdoors, but because my dad was penalized, he couldn't do that. So he was still only outdoor dining. But now he's indoors, so everything's all chill. But I mean, I don't think he's following the 25% capacity or anything like that. He just does his thing. So it's just funny to see him get his vaccine now, finally, because, like, I mean, he never, I think I saw him wear a mask at the restaurant maybe like once or twice, and all the times that I visited throughout the pandemic, so he's pretty anti-mask, but that's just who he is, man. But hey, he's got the vaccine. I'll let you guys know what he says about getting it and everything. He'll probably just play it off and laugh about it. He's actually a pretty funny dude. You'd like him, but it's going back to the whole he's a Trump supporter thing. Like when you hear that, you're like, oh, maybe he's a bad person or something, whatever, because there's a very negative connotation behind his name. But back when Obama was running, and it was him and Hillary, right, between the Democratic vote, and my dad was for Hillary, back in what, like 2008. I remember him supporting her. I vividly remember that. And I'm just thinking, like, you supported her, but then when it was Trump and Hillary, it's like, I support Trump. So my dad has no allegiance. I know when I see the people he hangs around with, I'm like, okay, they're obviously the people influencing what he thinks. So it's not so much from him, So just remember, he's a very lovable guy, and it's just the way he is. But looking at the news real quick, something that happened a couple days ago was a cargo ship got stuck in the Suez Canal. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. It's Suez. You can always Google the story too if you want to look, but it's a cargo ship got stuck in the canal because it's actually wider than the actual canal, so it's actually just wedged in there. So no cargo can pass the canal, stopping any trade going through there. And I think it's next to Egypt, so it goes into the Mediterranean, I believe. I could be wrong, but you can check on me. So there's no travel, so there's millions being lost, and this has been going on for a few days now. So they're still trying to figure out how to move it to get things going. And I'm talking about this story because, last week I talked about how I'm on the subreddit Wall Street Bets, and I see a story that catches my eye because someone on Wall Street Bets had invested money and lost a lot of money because of what's going on with this canal. So apparently, according to what he said, if I remember correctly, he had gotten a tip from a friend that because of the pandemic, a lot of Europeans were ordering pets, specifically bunnies, or a specific type of bunny. So he invested about $50,000, or he did put $50,000 in the post, into buying a bunch of bunnies to go and sell and make a huge profit. And he's like, great, this is all going to happen. It's all supposed to be timed before Easter. Everything's going to happen according to plan. And then, boom, cargo ship gets stuck. And all those bunnies need to either he has to keep putting money in to keep feeding the bunnies, and they're just going to get older, or he just doesn't feed the bunnies and loses all his money because they're all dead. Either way, he said he's already lost 40% on his $50,000 investment. I mean, holy shit. That's just that's bad. And someone else on Wall Street Bets had sympathized with him, telling him that a similar situation that happened to him, not in the same canal, but where the cargo got backed up for whatever reason, whether ships being stuck, because that's the thing when it comes to betting on cargo, is you have to take into account weather, time, backups. Like, I mean, for all you know, you could get attacked by pirates, or just like how this cargo ship, you never know. There's so many factors that can go into a ship being stalled for a day or two that could completely ruin your perfect plan, right? So you never know. But anyways, this other guy who was saying, hey, I had a similar situation back in 2012 where he bought some pigs, and he was trying to get them through passing through the UAE. I remember it was through the Middle East. I remember reading that, and he was saying, I was like trying to sell mini pigs as a pet, but because it was getting stalled so long, because I think he got stalled for like 6 months, and because of that, the mini pigs grew into actual pigs. So when he was passing them through the UAE, he had to prove that they were mini pigs, but they were actually just regular pigs. And because of that, he couldn't sell them at top dollar value of them being mini pigs, and just sold them as just regular pigs, as just like livestock. So he said he lost about like half of his investment. I don't know if he put an exact figure, but going into Wall Street bets, GME GameStop stock. I remember talking about it last week and how it had gone down. And Wednesday, it went down to 120. And I switch between looking at my Fidelity account and looking at Wall Street Bets to see what people are saying. And I see a lot of people saying, I'm buying the stock. So Wednesday, the stock market closes at $120, and everybody's like saying, I'm buying the dip, and people are buying ridiculous amounts. And then the next day, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna buy some in the morning because it's probably gonna go down, then up. And then by the time I wake up, it's already at 150. It went back up $30, which was Thursday, right? So I'm like, oh shit, I'm gonna buy some. So I bought some at 153, and then it went up past 200, and I was like, oh shit, I'm up some money. Okay, dope. And it ended up going down yesterday to 180, but it looks like that's probably where it's going to stop when it comes to the lowest that it's going to be. It looks like it's going to come up soon because I have some other friends that I talk to that have invested in this, but they have, as they say, paper hands and already sold. And I said, I'm not going to sell until Deep Fucking Values, the guy who started it all. You can see him on YouTube as Roaring Kitty. He has an options call that's like until April 16th. And I'm like, okay, I'm not going to sell my stock until his option call is going to end, because that's probably when it's timed to be at the highest. So whenever I see that happen, that's when I'm going to sell my stuff. But in the meantime, I'm going to keep buying the stock. I like the stock. What can I say? It is what it is. It's funny, but I love it. And something that happened in the news yesterday, because I'm actually recording this early in the morning. I was going to record it last night, but I said, you know what, I'm going to do it early in the morning, get a head start, is what it is, But Georgia passed the law for voting, and it's being portrayed in the media, at least when I first looked at it, as a Jim Crow type law where it's targeting African Americans or people in inner cities to not vote. And when I saw that, I said, okay, well, let me investigate it. There's 3 sides to every story: his side, her side, and the truth. So let's see what's going on. Let me investigate. And then after doing some further research, it turns out Georgia is just implementing the fact that, well, there's one thing that's stupid, but the main things I saw were that you need an ID, you need you need identification, you need to be registered in the city so that they can validate, oh, this is this person who's voting. And I live in California, and right now I live in LA County, but I'm registered in Kern County, right? And I need my ID to go and vote in California. And California is a liberal state, right? We can agree on this. So if in California I need my ID to go and vote, then why doesn't Georgia? That's surprising to me. I was surprised to see that Georgia didn't already have laws to identify who's voting, because that's already sketchy. I'm like, how do you know? You just come in, hey, I'm Joe Blow, I want to vote. Oh, okay, Joe Blow, come on in. And it's like, oh, okay. It's like, well, what if Joe Blow comes in again? It's like, no, now I'm Joanne Blow. It's like, okay, cool. That doesn't make sense to me. So I think it seems to me, I could be wrong, but it seems to me like the media is spinning it in a very negative, racial way, when to me it seems like, hey, this is like just some good policies to have. I mean, we have them here. That just makes sense to me about uh, being able to identify. I mean, I don't see how that doesn't make sense. But the one rule that I did see that seems very stupid to me was the fact that um, people on the outside are not allowed to give you water. And I'm like, what? So when you're waiting in line to vote and you're out in the hot sun, uh, you're not, or in the cold, who knows, whatever, uh, you're not allowed to give people water. You can only get water from inside the facility from staff members. You can't get it from people selling it or just giving it out on the street. Which is a weird rule because I'm like, why are you making these people thirsty? I mean, can you? I mean, if you can bring your own water, I mean, that's cool. I didn't check into that, but it just seems like a dumb rule to me. And then what was the other thing they added? They added one more thing. Damn, I'd have to look up the article, but to keep things moving, you know, it's funny just to see Joe Biden like talking about it too, because he's saying, "Oh yeah, this is some Jim Crow type laws. You know, you can't get water. What? You can't get water?" Actually, he just had his press conference, and it seemed very scripted, and I didn't. I only saw some of the highlights, specifically the parts where he had dementia, and he was just forgetting things like he forgot one of the people that he just spoke about, like their name, and it's somebody that's important to their to what he's talking about. I mean, it's the main person that he's supposed to be talking about, and then he just forgets. He loses track of where he's going, and it's just a bad look for your leader to have that, you know. And then he goes on the news and starting shit with Putin, and Putin just says, "Oh yeah, like I wish you good health." And the next day he gets on Air Force One and trips 3 times, and it gets on the news. And it seems to me like the media is starting to turn on Biden. Because, you know, it started off like Obama era type stuff where it was like, oh, what's Biden's favorite ice cream flavor? You know, versus Trump, it was like, what has he got this to say? You know, and they were really attacking him. And it's very stupid to me that people are still reporting what Trump has to say about like Biden's press conference. Like, who gives a fuck what Trump has to say? Like, and it's funny because, you know, people try to platform him, but the news is obviously giving him a platform. Like, but I mean, that's the power of being someone famous, you know, rich and famous, is you always have a platform, you know, or a way to get one probably, you know. But anyways, going back to the Biden being having dementia and just forgetting where he's at, as I'm doing. Anyways, so yeah, Biden falling and being with I guess tough entanglements with Mr. Putin is not a good look. But I think the thing that's making people really turn on Biden is what's going on at the border with immigration. Because you know, let's go back before they started even reporting on the camps. What's going on? You know, I saw that there was an accident. What was it? East of San Diego on the freeway. A SUV. This happened about 2 weeks ago, by the way. But an SUV had crashed into a semi truck, and it killed like 13 people, and there were 27 people inside the SUV. And I just thought, those are Mexicans, and that's illegal shit going on right now. Because why the hell are there 27 people in an SUV? And, you know, people in the comments were saying, oh, this sounds like human trafficking. This sounds like human trafficking. And I was like, yeah, definitely sounds like it to me too. And then sure enough, it comes out that it was human trafficking. It was some Mexicans, and there was a hole in the wall. And one of the top comments in that news video was, "This wouldn't have happened if Trump built his wall," and that was hilarious. That was funny. I mean, it's kind of true. If Trump built his wall, those people would still be alive. But there's been a huge exodus of Mexicans coming up to America, and there's a bunch of camps and a lot of kids being held captive, and Biden went and saw it and basically doesn't acknowledge any of it, doesn't say anything that's going on, and I'm just like, come on, bro, what are you doing? And but luckily, he said he's gonna make more camps. He's gonna, or more spaces for them to live, because right now they're extremely tiny. Man, if you guys have the time, go on Vice and look up their videos on it. They're reporting on it. It's pretty cool. It's very enlightening, I should say. And you get to see what's really going on there, because the media is really being very hush hush about it, and it's not okay. It's not okay what's going on there. But I mean, I knew this was gonna happen. I had talked with my friends a while ago, like, hey, if the Democrats keep this whole immigration open politics thing, like, there's gonna be so many Mexicans that come in, and then they're gonna become the majority vote. And then are the Democrats even gonna care about the black vote, because now the Mexican vote's gonna cater to them more to be reelected? And then I'm like, that's gonna put them against the wall, and then that's gonna put black people in a tough position too, depending on what they choose. But hey, that's just what I'm thinking, And talking about things that I predicted, or things that I've talked about in the past with friends, is back when this whole thing was starting. I was thinking, like, man, there was already reports of a lab next to Wuhan. I'm talking about COVID now, by the way. There was a lab next to Wuhan where the virus potentially could have came from. If there was a lab leak, right? Because they have an infectious disease lab not too far from Wuhan, and I said, hey, it could have came from here. And I remember, like, a month in, there was like one of the scientists in Europe, I think he was French, that co-discovered the AIDS virus in the 80s. He said, hey, this virus is not natural, it's man-made. There's something weird about this virus. And it's been very, like, taboo to talk about, hey, it came from the lab, or it sounds like a crazy conspiracy. It's something that people don't want to talk about, or even think is going on. It's like, hey, no, this is just like some sort of freak thing. Somebody ate a bat, blah blah blah. And recently, I think I talked about this before, but scientists have come out saying, hey, we want to be able to investigate every possibility of the origins of COVID, and one of them is, hey, if it's coming from Wuhan, right? So now scientists are investigating, hey, was this a lab leak? Was this real? And I'm like, I hope it's. I guess I just want confirmation for my own opinion, confirmation bias, just to be like, hey, I called it, I knew it. Like, this is some bullshit. But hey, what can we do? We'll see what happens. Only time will tell. Luckily, the bills have passed for scientists to investigate this. And unfortunately, when Biden is asked about COVID and the origins of it and it being from lab, like, he doesn't say anything. He doesn't say anything. Keeps it low key. But hey, what can you do? That's what's going on with things, man. I mean, shit. And fucking NFTs are still going off. It's crazy. It seems like I do still think that it's a bubble, but people are starting to try to jump on it. Like, big companies are starting to jump on this NFTs. And for people who don't know, NFTs are non-fundable tokens, and they're just like cryptocurrency that people make. And one of the big companies that announced that they want to get in on it is actually Nike. Nike actually wants to make their own NFTs based off their shoes. And I'm like, what? That's like, what? That doesn't make any sense. It seems fake, but I mean, like, that's what the news says, that Nike wants to make NFTs based off their shoes and see what they can make. And apparently they can generate a lot of money because people will buy them. And there was this stupid NFT that got sold like for 69 million, and it's like a weird, just terrible drawing of a dude getting his dick sucked. It's like a terrible, terrible drawing, and it just says, "Damn, shawty." Okay, and it says Channel 69, and like people bought it for 69 million. I mean, I don't know. This, to me, this seems like a big meme thing. I mean, at least the GameStop meme is more, there's more validity to it, and there's actually science behind it. But the NFT, I'm like, it's really just like art. You really just gotta look at it as art, as, oh, this is a one of a kind piece, and that's what I'm buying for. The value it has is just what I'm giving it, because I just don't see it. Maybe this is like Bitcoin, where people in the very beginning, back in like 2010, where people are like, oh, I don't understand what Bitcoin is. This doesn't make sense. This seems like some bullshit. And hey, maybe it becomes the next big thing. But I actually did look up on YouTube how to make them, and I'm like, okay, now I can try to make an NFT of something. But I mean, just to have it sell, I feel like you need to have some sort of backing or some sort of thing, you know, because even like Van Gogh, you know, it's like, hey, these artists weren't famous when they were alive, but then they died, and then they became popular. For all we know, we might have people who make NFTs, and they're like sold for like $5, and then when the creator dies, they become big. I mean, if it's really seen as art, it might happen that way. For all we know, it could be that way. Fuck. Only time will tell. Only time will tell. And what else is going on with this? What else is going on in my life? Everything else is pretty chill. You know, I'm back on Tinder, looking at chicks, talking to them, trying to hook up dates. Seeing, it seems like compared to the last time I was on Tinder about 9 months ago, it's definitely completely different in the environment, because I don't see anybody talking about, hey, you gotta have a COVID test or anything COVID. It used to be very like, hey, we gotta like FaceTime, or not even like, we can't see each other, we have to get tested. It had to be all this type of stuff. It seems like people are a lot more relaxed. And man, I'm really curious how crazy things are gonna get when things open up, because you know, the spring breakers in Florida, those guys went crazy, and like they had to call martial law in Florida. If you guys heard about that, it was a huge mess. But it seems like people like just want to get out and do something, because even though people have basically been on spring break all year, you know, it's like, hey, you can still hang out with your friends and shit. Come on, it's like we've all been doing it. But it seems like people just want to have that culture, that sort of the real like spring break experience. And like, since Florida's one of the places in the country that's very open with the beach, it's like, hey, that's a very obvious spot to go to. Makes sense. But just seeing that makes me think that when we are fully open, people might go crazy, might be going a little ape shit. But maybe not, because I mean, here in LA things are pretty chill. I mean, we'll see what goes down. I mean, only time will tell. But this has been another episode of the DP Podcast. I'm your host, Daniel Pinto. I appreciate you for listening. We'll see you next week. Take care. Well, I stand up next to a mountain, drop down with the edge of my hand. Well, I stand up next to a mountain, drop down with the edge of my hand. Well, I pick up all the pieces and I make an island, might even raise a little sand. 'Cause I'm a bitter child, yeah. Lord knows